Hello, I'm Zach Benezio.
And I'm Alex Franchanu. Welcome to Spotlight NBC.
Spotlight NBC is a specialty show put together by the Video Production 3 class at Northern Burlington for the purpose of highlighting some of the lesser-known aspects of our students, faculty, staff, and school community.
That's right. In this episode, we took the opportunity to practice some human interest journalism and scoured the building and community looking for stories that go beyond just delivering the facts and serve to get a deeper understanding of the people involved and the lives they lead.
Our first story today focuses on some of the struggles faced by military families as they deal with the rigors of military life and the absence of deployed family members. Our very own Mike Manna spoke with former NBC student Ken Rasavong about what life is like and the struggles he and his family face.
I've known Ken since the 8th grade, and throughout the years we have built a strong friendship together. I knew that he was a military child, but I never knew just how often his dad was deployed and how he was barely home. Compared to other friends that I have that are military children, Ken was different. He never showed any signs of depression, stress, or worry. Ken has a very strong and healthy relationship with his family, and because of this, him and his mother and his sister are able to stay joyful and hopeful while their father is away. I decided to take a look into Ken's family life to see how the deployment of a family member can affect the family, and to see how a healthy relationship with one's family can change the way it affects them.
My name is Ken Rasavong. My mom's family was from Vietnam and they were forced to migrate to Germany during the Vietnam War, which led to the death of multiple family members. My dad grew up in Laos in poverty and eventually migrated to the United States, enlisted in the United States military, and was stationed in Germany in 1994. There he met my mother, and I was born on June 1st, 1999, in Gießen, Germany. I went to a German kindergarten and learned German as my first language. I also learned Chinese, but I forgot it in my later life. I learned English going into the first grade. I went to an American school on base. Growing up, I saw my dad a few times a year, and every other year, we constantly move around. During my 13-year stay in Germany, I moved about 6 times. I moved to New Jersey in 2013. I honestly felt like a dove in a world of sheep. I stayed there for around 3 years and eventually moved to Colorado again. I've been here in Colorado for 2 years, and my dad's nearing retirement and he's 24 years in service. Over the course of my life, I've come to the conclusion that the military lifestyle is indeed stressful but also has its perks. I've met countless people and been to numerous countries, and these are experiences that I wouldn't give up for anything.
Okay, so you were born in Germany, you moved to New Jersey when you were about 13, and now you're in Colorado. Can you explain what it was like living in a different country and what the change was like coming to America?
So I was born in Germany on a military base in Gießen. I have German citizenship and I speak fluent German. And the culture is quite different as a minority living there. It was quite racist there. I mean, not extremely, but they weren't really accepting. Unlike in here in America where you come in, everyone's like, hey, what's up? You meet really nice people. In Germany, it wasn't really like that. But besides that, the culture was great. Obviously, it's different. In America, it's more quick. In Germany, it's slow paced, like in the restaurants. We have great. The media is actually really similar because Germans love watching American TV.
Now, your dad is in the military. What branch is he a part of?
He's in the army.
The army. And is he currently deployed?
No, he's not. He's on like a trip for the army where he goes around with several other officers and they inspect, I guess, other people, like, what they do, what their job is, and they're like, I don't know, like supervisors, sort of. So he goes to, army bases all over the world and just goes around and, I guess, makes sure they're doing their thing.
He was deployed before, though? How many times?
9 times. Most people don't deploy that often, but it was because we wanted to live in Germany for longer, because my mom, she wanted to stay there, so the cost of that was him deploying a lot of times.
And what was it like not seeing him for so long?
It wasn't that great. He was only here for 3 of my birthdays, and I'm 17 right now, so That's quite a shocker. And my sister's birthdays as well. She was only there for like 2 or 3 of them. So we do miss him a lot because back when he deployed often, it was every other year. So we'd move and then he'd be gone for a year and then he'd come back and we'd probably move right after that. So it was quite rough, but you get used to it.
How was your relationship with your mom and your sister while your dad was away?
It was quite good. We got along really well. We tried to communicate as best as possible. We tried to, just take care of each other because we're missing our dad.
That's good.
Yeah.
And how's your family's relationship now that he's, not deployed anymore?
Yeah, it's quite good. I mean, we know he's safe. We know he'll get home safely. He won't get rear-ended on Austin Bluffs like I did, so that's always good,
Do you feel like your relationship with your family has changed over all this time from Germany to now?
Yeah. We, as kids, we had a hard time, getting used to this life, and now we're used to it kind of, and it helps us bond because we're away overseas, or we're away somewhere else without our dad, and we kind of just have to stick together, and it just makes us a lot closer.
The military doesn't only affect the men and women in line of duty, it also affects their families. The deployment of a parent or spouse can have serious effects on the family, causing additional stress and anxiety. A healthy relationship in the family will help in times of trouble when a loved one is deployed. Ken's dad was deployed 9 times and was only home for 3 of his birthdays and 2 of his sisters. It's hard for us to think about what it's like, especially if we don't have a direct family members in the line of duty. It's stressful living as a military family, but something all families can learn from Ken's is, it's important to stick together, even when times are difficult and stressful. It's important to show love to your family while your loved one is away, and it's most importantly to stay strong and hopeful for their return.
That story hits close to home, considering approximately 30% of Northern Burlington student bodies comprised of military kids from Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst.
It's interesting to get that inside perspective on the challenges military kids face in their lives and how their families handle those challenges. We've brought that segment's lead producer, Mike Manna, into the studio to talk more in depth about his project. Thanks for coming, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
So what inspired you to make this project?
Well, everybody knows how the military affects the people that are deployed and in the military, but nobody really takes a look at how the family is affected by a parent or a spouse that is deployed. So I wanted to kind of capture what Ken's life was like when his dad was deployed. I mean, his dad was only home for 2 of his birthdays, and he's 17 now, and I can imagine what it's like to be like that.
So how does being friends with military kids affect you personally?
Well, you don't really find out someone's in the military unless they tell you, but it's different because they move so often. I mean, Ken lived in Germany for 13 years, and he was only in New Jersey for about 3 years, and now he's in Colorado. And I just had a friend who moved last month, so it's different, but I try to keep in touch with them, and I don't treat them any differently than anybody else.
Considering a large population of Northern Burlington's student body is military children, how do you think it affects the school as a whole?
Well, we're all in this together. We're all peers and students, and we all have to work together. I mean, it's different for military kids because they move so often, so there can be some academic challenges for them since they move so often. So I think it's important for us as the peers and faculty to make their time here as best as possible.
While military life undoubtedly has a lasting effect on military families, the personal struggles these kids deal with are well beyond those faced by most kids their age. Military kids handle the constant moving, loss of friends, absence of extended family, and many other challenges with grace.
Mariano Damian and Jonathan Chuan took the opportunity to share their own personal struggles in this next segment. Let's take a look.
My name is Mariano. My parents have been in the military for 19 years. I have moved 5 times, and I really love this life.
I was born in Fort Campbell, and I lived in the U.S. all my life. After that, we went to Georgia, and that was Fort Benning. And my dad was stationed in Iraq, so then we moved to get closer to family in San Diego. And after that, we moved back to Fort Benning, then to San Diego again, and he was stationed in Korea. Then we ended up in New Jersey, and that's about it.
Alaska is one of the greatest places I've been to. Mainly because it was so different from all the other places I've been, like Texas or Turkey, where it's been like hot. Alaska was really cold and snowy, so it was a really good change of environment for me. Got to meet new people. I got 2 dogs there. It was really great. 2 of my brothers were born there. I met a lot of great friends. Schools there were really nice. I loved middle school there. I started middle school. I only got to stay there till 7th grade, then I moved here.
So at first I was at some military schools, and everyone was pretty cool about that. It's like we all knew each other there, and we all knew each other's background, and all our family was in the military. And after that, I moved to a public school, and it was different. There's actually some military kids over there too, but mainly just like regular kids that's been there all their life. So it's kind of weird moving in between.
In Alaska, there was this one kid who'd pick on me for being a military kid. His name was Caden, and he'd always make the same remark over and over again towards me whenever I tried to talk to him. It was more, he always said, like, why would I want to talk to you or be friends with you? You're just going to move in 1 or 2 years. It's because you're a military child. It stung, but I got over it, because that's all he said to me.
I wouldn't say I ever got picked on for being a military kid. Most people were really cool about it, and a lot of friends were really supportive. Like, if I were ever talking to my dad and stuff, they would know to not intervene or do anything, because you know how people usually, they butt into conversations on the phone.
Turkey was a real crazy school for me to go to, especially since I was 8 when I first started going there. Just because I thought I'd have to learn the language, but it turns out the school that I went to was on base, and all the kids there were military kids, except for like 2 exchange students there who had to learn English. I thought I'd have to learn Turkish, but I didn't have to. But one of the interesting classes is that they replaced Spanish with a Turkish-speaking class. It was really cool. I had a lot of fun there. It always felt fresh since all the kids there are military. You know, people come and go. You meet new friends. It was great.
Out of all the schools, my favorite was this one in San Diego called Montgomery Middle School, because I made a lot of good friends there, and I still keep in contact with some of them. It was probably the most fun I ever had during school, and me and my friends were really competitive in whatever we did, and we hanged out a lot, either in game or either together in real life.
While the struggles of military kids are in fact unique when compared to those of the average teenager, that doesn't mean that non-military kids don't have a struggle of their own. In recent years, legislation has been introduced as an attempt to reduce bullying incidents in schools across the country.
Statistics show that approximately 160,000 kids stay home from school every day as a result of bullying. This issue has a deep impact on a student's education, socialization, and emotional well-being, and we learn more about personal experiences with bullying in our next story.
Over 3.2 million students are victims of bullying each year. Approximately 160,000 teens skip school every day because of bullying. 12 years ago, bullying had the same effect.
I won an award, and I was in the local newspaper for winning the award. I remember it was at the end of the school year. I don't remember what the award was for, but it was something academically oriented. And it was like the last day of school, we had final exams, and I came into my homeroom, and there was a girl in the homeroom that had bullied me a lot, and she brought a stack of newspapers. And she had drawn things on my face and written things on my face, and she was kind of, she was dispersing them out to the kids in the homeroom. My name's Maria Tomasetti. This is my 6th year teaching here at Northern Burlington. I teach social studies, and I was bullied a lot as a middle schooler and especially as a high schooler.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Urso. I'm a teacher at Northern Burlington. I've been a teacher for 6 years. In my experience, I believe that bullying affects a student emotionally. It causes depression, anxiety, and most importantly, it causes a hostile environment and leads to students feeling very unsafe in a place where they should feel safe.
I was an angry kid. I was angry that I had to go to the school that I went to because I didn't have a lot of friends there. But I guess my outlet was school. I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed reading. I would probably read 3 to 5 books a month. I ate a lot of junk food. I'd come home from school and go straight to my room and crack open a book and eat an entire case of Nutter Butters, and that's how I chose to deal with it. I focused on my studies. I tried to have the best grades I could have. And that's really how I coped. I wish I could have been more positive, but I was pretty upset about the situation I was in.
So a bullying situation, you should never turn a blind eye, and you should take it very seriously. However, you don't want to cause any type of situation that will make it worse. So reporting it as soon as possible, and if possible, intervention during the bullying occurrence.
I don't really know if there was a person I could go to for help. I had friends, but they didn't go to the school I went to. As far as the school, I had a few meetings, with an administrator, with a principal, but I never really felt like they could do much for me. The stigma of bullying at the time, it was sort of seen as your fault. You're getting bullied because you're not fun to be around, or you're weird, or you're this, or you're that. So the truth is that no, I couldn't really go to too many people.
Intervention during a bullying situation can certainly cause more problems, especially on the person being bullied. Fear of retaliation is a big deal.
I would say that it took me a long time to trust people, to feel like people I met in college really were interested in what I had to say. I kind of always suspected that people were just waiting for a moment to bully me or criticize me or say something behind my back. I think it most affects me though in the way that I'm a teacher. I try to be the teacher that kids from all different walks of life, all different economic levels, all different academic levels, athletic levels, whatever, I do try, I make an attempt to have something in common with them, to engage them in some way. And I really try not to show any kind of favoritism. I want them all to feel equally comfortable and welcome in the room. I just felt like my teachers did such a unacceptable job in helping me, in recognizing what was happening to me. Sometimes I almost felt like the teachers were in on the jokes. I do try to speak out if I see something unacceptable. I try to lead by example. So I guess it does. I don't think you ever stop being the kid that was bullied, no matter what changes you see happen to you in your life. You know, I think that I'm always going to be in the back of my mind like the chunky, nerdy girl that people bullied. And I don't know if that's a bad thing in some ways, but it definitely affects you for the rest of your life. I would say that it took me a long time to open up to people about my experiences. I'm not ashamed to admit that at some point I decided I should go to a therapist. I should talk about what happened to me. So I always tell my students that there's no shame in asking for help. I would say that my ultimate advice to anyone that's getting bullied is to imagine the person that's bullying you in 10 years. Imagine their life. Imagine what kind of a person they will be, and then use that to motivate yourself. I can tell you that I find it very satisfying now to see the people, you know, on Facebook, or occasionally I bump into them and I see, you know, I compare their life to my life, and I realize that whatever aggravation or torment that I put up with, now the reward's here, and I feel good about where I'm at in my life. So if you're getting bullied, I would say you need to seek help. You need to find people to advocate for you. And when you're really at your wit's end, just imagine this person in 10 or 15 years. And I promise you that it will get better.
While steps have been taken since most of that bullying occurred to curb it in our schools, much work is left to be done. It is important that we as students, parents, teachers, and community members continue to support anti-bullying efforts across this country.
Our next story brings us into the home of one of Northern Burlington's families as they discuss their experiences with childhood cancer. The American Childhood Cancer Organization estimates that nearly 16,000 children are diagnosed with some form of the disease every year. Many of those cases end in the worst-case scenario.
We sat down with the Puzaklu family in North Hanover to hear their story.
What does it mean to be family? In times of trouble and in times of triumph, they are the ones that are in your corner, the ones you can lean on when you're in need. No matter what, your family is there for you, and yet, you can never truly understand the power of family until you see it in action.
I'm Sophie Puzaklu. I'm 18. I live in New Jersey. I was born in Altus, Oklahoma, and I'm a senior in high school at Northern Burlington High School. So it was April 18th, 2011. I was in 6th grade and I was 12. That day it was just like normal 6th grade. I went to school, we had gym class. I went home. I'd had a persistent cough for I guess 2 weeks. It was really bad, and so I called my dad and I asked him if he could take me to the doctors. So he took me in to see the flight doc because he's in the Air Force. And she listened to my lungs and she kind of looked really nervous, and she had my dad listen to my lungs, and he said he just heard like gurgling and it kind of sounded like listening to a wall. So she said a bunch of random things to us and then brought us to the x-ray room.
As I was coming out of the bathroom, my husband met me out in the hallway away from Sophie's room where she was in her little cubicle curtain thing. And he said, you know where we're at, right? And I was like, no, I have no idea what's going on. And he said, there's a mass in her chest. And at that point, I really lost it because I did not think that's where we were at. So at that point, I went from, I had my emotional breakdown, and then I just kind of went into a mama bear role and needed to know exactly what we needed to do to get Sophie better.
I had my first IV, which was like really scary. I had a CT scan and I sat in the ER for a really long time. I ate blue popsicles and pet dogs, and I had a germ cell tumor. It was a teratoma, and it was about the size of a football. It sat on my whole right lung and like compressed it, and then it was on my pulmonary artery, my aorta, and it had shifted my whole heart over.
Sophie did 2 rounds of inpatient chemo to try to shrink her tumor. It didn't work, so we had to go in and remove it. And so she had a massive surgery. Her cancer markers were elevated prior to the surgery.
The recovery was pretty hard. It was painful. But slowly, like I felt slowly gaining strength and stuff. Like I could finally walk up the stairs without getting tired. I could go outside. Like I went out more. Went to the mall. I could do like normal 12-year-old girl things. And I guess my hair started.
So when Sophie was sick, friends of ours, their daughter had asked Sophie to pick some like fighting colors. I think everybody, being so far away from us where we were in Hawaii, needed they wanted to do something. People wanted to get involved. People wanted to help. But obviously they couldn't make us a meal and bring it to us when we were there, and they were everywhere. On the mainland. So she asked Sophie for what color she wanted, and she picked
aqua and orange.
One of Sophie's friends who was stationed with us there, was on the island, got these bracelets made, and they say Team Sophie. And we started a thing where we were like, well, let's sell them. People wanted them once we had them, and so we sold them for $5. And we were sending them everywhere. People were mainland, all over. They were people were wearing them. We had people on vacation, and they would take pictures in Venice or Paris. They were all over the United States. It was amazing to feel people, and I guess, people hate Facebook. They love Facebook, and but it was a great thing because we were able to go on there, and I could post what was going on with her and get the support. Like the day that she was going in for surgery, I just remember making that post of, okay, start the prayers now. And you could feel people. You could feel that presence of people. And it was almost like you could just feel people wrapping their arms around you, and you knew everything was going to be okay. And so she's been normal, and everything's good. And she is now a normal, healthy 18-year-old.
Fortunately for Sophie and her family, the outcome was positive, but not all families are so lucky. It is important that we continue to fund research into fighting cancer and finding a cure. We urge you to visit the websites below and consider donating.
Another issue that tends to touch the lives of people across the spectrum is suicide. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and has a profound impact on everyone from immediate family to complete strangers. We spoke to some of Northern Burlington's community members with some knowledge and experience on the topic.
Sad news to report tonight. Legendary actor and comedian Robin Williams has died. The Marin County Sheriff's Office says it appears he took his own life. His body was...
Nirvana fans have been gathering outside the Seattle home of lead singer Kurt Cobain. The 27-year-old was found dead alongside a shotgun and a suicide note.
My name is John Campo. I am a firefighter at both Mansfield Township Franklin Fire Company 331 and Springfield Jobestown 213. One experience that I have in regards to suicide is my instructor in the fire academy committed suicide halfway through. It was on Valentine's Day of this year. His name was Matt Hempel. He was a Category 4 instructor, so he taught all the hazmat ops and he taught basic fire school. Well. It affected both me and others we lost a hero that day. We lost one of our mentors. He was a great role model, and the community lost somebody that was there to help and protect them.
I've been a psychology teacher now for 13 years I'm going on. I had taken a lot of psychology classes in college, 100, 200, 300, and 400 level classes. Unfortunately, as a teacher, suicide is something that periodically comes up. It leaves people confused, what often happens. Typically, when someone commits suicide, you have all the friends, all the loved ones. The question is why? Why would you take your life? And the fact that the person has killed themselves means they're not there to answer it. Yeah, sure, they leave a note sometimes, but a note doesn't answer everything. So how does it affect you? It leaves you empty. It leaves you wondering. People begin to blame themselves. People become confused. It's a very tragic situation. And I think it often gets overlooked that, the person who committed suicide, yes, that's tragedy. They died. But what they leave behind them is something that can never be healed. Clearly, it's a mental disorder. As humans, we have an innate desire to live, and we will do everything we can to survive. In order for a human to give up, you have to have extraordinary circumstances. Typically with suicide, it follows depression, severe anxiety, or some other undiagnosed mental disorder where the person just sees nothing but bleakness. They believe that in death, they believe that their life is just not worth living anymore. And there's no real understanding for it, accepting that they need to get help, and unfortunately they don't. As a student, as a teacher, the help we can give is limited in that we can try to help them, we can watch them, we can keep an eye on them, but they need to get professional help. I've been doing psychology now for 13 years, as I mentioned. I am not a therapist. I am not qualified to help somebody. They need to get professional help and speak to somebody. Now, you can't keep it a secret. If you believe your friend is suicidal, you believe a loved one is suicidal, you must tell somebody. They'll hate you, but it's better to have them hate you and then an opportunity to forgive you than have them kill themselves and then you wonder if I could have did something. Suicide's never the answer. Look at your family, look at your loved ones, and remember, if you kill yourself, they're the ones who get hurt. They're the ones who are affected, not you. And I usually, when you say that to somebody, they don't want to hurt their family. And that's usually a way to get them to, think twice about it.
If I knew someone was suicidal, I would tell them that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel no matter what. And once one door closes, another will open. Eventually, you just got to keep your head up, prosper, carry on, and just keep on looking forward.
It's clear that the impact of suicide on families, friends, and communities is truly immeasurable.
While we're on the topic of family, we feel it's important to bring attention to the safety and well-being of our furry family members as well. The ASPCA estimates that 2.7 million pets are euthanized in shelters each year. These are kind, loving animals that deserve a good home, but sadly never live to get one.
Northern Burlington student Bruce Franz does a lot of work with the ASPCA and the St. Hubert's Animal Shelter in Madison, New Jersey. And our producers, Jess Williver, Maria Spano, and Cassie Kraczynski, sat down with him to discuss his experiences with homeless pets.
Every day, poor, helpless animals suffer from the cruelty of careless, abusive owners and the ignorance of human beings. Animal shelters around the world help to reinstate the health, spirit, and confidence of these animals.
My name is Bruce Franz. I work at the ASPCA Behavioral Rehabilitation Center, and I really like it there. It's really eye-opening work that we're doing there. So, since it's the ASPCA Behavioral Rehabilitation Center, it's a bit different than a regular animal shelter. We have to make sure all the dogs can communicate or understand basic things that they might encounter in the home, like squirrel, like the smell of squirrel and the smells of different things that they might see outside. So they're not worried about that. We have to make sure that they can go up and down stairs, because some of the dogs we're working with are scared to death of stairs, or they've never seen stairs in their entire life. We have to adapt them to grass, because a lot of the dogs were in cages above the ground, or there was mud around, so they've never even touched grass. And we have to make sure that we know how the adopter is going to interact with dog, so we know there's not like a negative connotation that's going to happen. It's all going to be positive. We had a team, Humane Society International. They went to South Korea to rescue, I think it was 128 dogs from a meat farm. And 2 of them were so badly treated that they were fearful. And at the ASPCA, we bring them back so they could be adopted by doing like behavior evaluations and stuff like that. And they took it really rough in the beginning. They weren't responding to any of our treatment. So what we do at the shelter is we make all of our dogs that are in the rehab center that are nearing graduation available online through the Pet Finder organization and on aspca.org. And there is an interview process. Now, normally in an animal shelter, they're gearing towards there's no interview process. But since this is the ASPCA Behavioral Rehabilitation Center, and the dogs are very from sensitive cases, we want to make sure they go into the right hands.
I live a very sad life, so adopting an animal was probably one of the best things that could ever happen to me, honestly. It gives me a sense of, like, hope. It is definitely a positive thing, and I'm really glad I have adopted the cat I do own now. It's very nice going home and just having somebody to love. My cat Rogan, she's about 2 years old. She has severe anxiety and does not like people going near her or around her at all. So she hides a lot throughout the day, but she likes me, she adores me. And it's really nice because I love her. I have been the only one to ever hold her within the 2 years we have had her. I actually went to my friend Bruce for help with adopting a Rogan. I got her from the animal shelter he volunteers at, and it was quite a long process, but it was definitely worth it. I would say adopt an older animal because they are adopted much less often than kittens are, and it's really heartbreaking because they were usually mistreated when they were younger and just have like no place to go now. We are actually adopting another animal soon, and I'm really excited for it.
So my piece of advice, before you definitely go look at a puppy store, you should definitely go to an animal shelter. I know that St. Hubert's and the ASPCA are like 2 hours away from here, but Burlington County Animal Shelter, they have a lot of great dogs and cats and even small animals that you can go adopt there. So yeah, opt to adapt.
It seems like there are plenty of loving and adorable animals looking for homes and shelters all across America, and we urge you to visit a shelter before purchasing a dog from a breeder or a pet store. To provide us with a little more insight into animal adoption, we brought student producer Jessica Williver in to discuss her project and help us understand the process.
Thanks for coming, Jess.
Thanks for having me.
What inspired you to make Opt to Adopt?
So what inspired me basically was that I felt this was my opportunity to use my voice to encourage people to adopt. There's so many animals out there who don't have homes and who don't have the opportunity to live their life to the fullest because of the situations that they're in. And every time someone adopts an animal, they're helping to improve that life.
How does adopting animals benefit both the animal being adopted and the person who adopts them?
So there's a huge impact on both the animal being adopted and the person who's adopting the animal. So the animal who's being adopted is now getting a home, and they get to leave the circumstances that they were in before and live a better life. And then also for the person who's adopting the animal, they get a new companion. They get someone who they feel like they have rescued and someone who will be with them for a long, long time. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that they get to both be with each other.
What message did you intend to send with the creation of this project, and did you feel you were successful in sending it?
So our message basically was that we wanted to encourage people to adopt. That's the main line. There's so many commercials out there and ads and everything for breeders or for pet stores, but we felt that adopting animals is so important because those are the animals who really need a home. those are the animals who have lived through some of the worst things that they could have possibly lived through, and those are the ones that we need people to adopt. So that was our message, and I think we portrayed our message quite well in the documentary. I think it got the point across that many animals are in need of a home and in need of a family, so I think that's what we were going for.
Thank you, Jess. I hope that more people will consider adopting a shelter pet the next time they are looking for companionship. As you can see, Northern Burlington has no shortage of great and diverse students, staff, and stories.
We are pleased to have the opportunity to present those stories to you and to help the world to understand what makes the Northern Burlington community tick. Be sure to stay tuned for more from Northern TV.
You can find us on Comcast Channel 19, Verizon Channel 42, and on YouTube and Twitter. Just search Northern TV. Thanks for joining us. For Spotlight NBC, I'm Zach Venezio.
And I'm Alex Ranchanu. Thanks for watching.